Hello, I'm Devette Sweeney with Central Kentucky Community Foundation, and this video will take you through some things you need to know to be a scholarship reviewer for our Scholarship Central applications this year. First, I want to start with a big thank you. We appreciate your willingness to volunteer and help us with this endeavor. I'll start with a little bit of history of the foundation. Central Kentucky Community Foundation started offering scholarships in 1964 when Elizabethtown Community College opened, and we've been awarding them every year since. As you can imagine, that process has evolved a little bit over the years, culminating just a few years ago with the transition to an online application process called Scholarship Central. And we did this for several reasons. First was to be able to accommodate the growing number of scholarships that we were administering. Next was also to make it easier for our students to apply. We know that our students today live in a very digital age. Very little of what they do is in paper form, and they were having less and less interest in completing paper scholarship applications. So we wanted to facilitate a process that would make it easier for them and also help increase the quality applicants that we wanted to provide to our donors for scholarship awards. This has led to an increase in applications, which again made it even all the more important to have an electronic platform to manage through this process each year. And that is where you come in. Our scholarship reviewers are a huge part of the process. We, of course, greatly appreciate the generosity of donors which make these scholarships possible, but there is another piece to the equation that is essential, and that would be you, the reviewers, who help carry out their wishes. Without reviewers to go in and spend the time reviewing these applications, scoring them, and helping make those selections, it would not be possible to carry out the wishes of our donors who have established criteria by which they want to award scholarships. Some of you may be reviewing for scholarships that are in honor or memory of someone, and carrying out that legacy and helping to honor that is an important part of what scholarships can do for families. Our scholarship reviewers help give an impartial review so that students are evaluated equally and fairly on the material presented, and that is an essential part of our process. And then ultimately, it is a way for you as interested community members and people who want to help support our students to be involved in making those selections and helping our students achieve their educational and life goals. So we very much appreciate the time that we know you are committing to put into this process. For 2019, we will award over $300,000 and 160 scholarships in our region. And that includes this year, for the first time, all Elizabethtown Community and Technical College scholarships. At the close of our scholarship window on March the 1st, we had 1,562 completed applications, a record. Each year, we keep getting more and more scholarship applications from our students. So it takes more and more of you, our reviewers, to help complete this process. A couple of dates for you to note. March 12th is the target date for review panels to open, and the reviewer deadline will be March 22nd. Just a little context on how Scholarship Central works so that you have an idea of what has gone into bringing these scholarship applications to you for review. Students go into Scholarship Central and they register, create an account just like with any other online platform, and then the students select the scholarships for which they apply. They self-select. We do not select the scholarships that students are considered for. They make those selections themselves. They complete their application. Once they complete one application, they may duplicate that for all other scholarships on there that they wish to apply. After they complete their applications and we reach the March 1st deadline, academic counselors go in and enter the academic information for each student. So the ACT score, the GPA, the academic information you will see on applicants is all entered by high school or college guidance or admittance counselors. It is not self-reported academic information. After that deadline, CKCF staff goes in and does some verifying of eligibility, spot checking applications just to make sure that everything is in order for you, our reviewers. We know we ask a lot of you. Some of you will be on fairly large panels, and we want to weed out any students that don't meet those basic eligibility criteria if we can at all, so that you're spending your time on students that do fit the guidelines for scholarships, and not students that might not be able to be recipients of those scholarships. After we complete that eligibility checklist, then the panels are let to you. You receive an email from us with all of the instructions and a link to for how to proceed, the name of your scholarship review panel, and then you go to work and have until March 22nd to complete those reviews. Each scholarship has its own panel of reviewers. Typically, there are 3 reviewers on each panel, and once each reviewer has entered their scores, the awardees are selected based on the average of all reviewer scores. If you haven't already, you will soon be getting an email from Jennifer Pretty, who is our Scholarship Central administrator and expert extraordinaire, all rolled into one, and she will be walking you through that login and user process now.
So you will go to our website, which is www.ckcf4people.org. The upper right-hand corner is a Scholarship Central login. When you select login, it will take you to this page. You will enter with your email address, and then the password for first-time users will be the generated password that you received in the email. And from there, you will select Submit. And it will, the very first time you log in, it'll take you to this page here, which is our confidentiality and conflict of interest. That will talk about that.
2 things that we take very seriously in our scholarship administration process is maintaining the confidentiality of any information that you see in this process, and also the conflict of interest. So although our reviews are intended to be blind, sometimes in reading a scholarship application, you may realize that you know who a student is, or a student may have inadvertently included their name or parent's name in an application. At that point, if you realize that you know that student and you need to alert us of a potential conflict of interest, it does not mean that a conflict exists. It just may mean that you happen to know the student. But if you know them well and feel like it could be an issue to be impartial in that review process, then we definitely need to discuss that and take the proper next steps. As you may recognize a student or any other identifying information, make sure that anything that you discover in this review process is kept completely confidential, including academic, financial information, as well as just personal stories and life experiences the students may share. Sometimes they get very personal in their answers, and we want to make sure that we always honor that information. The integrity of the foundation and our scholarship process resides on both of these factors, and it's something that we take very seriously. Jen, if you'll continue with the process for reviewing scholarships, please.
So, as mentioned, the first time you log in, you'll be prompted to complete the conflict of interest and the confidentiality certificate. After you have selected that, you will be at your reviewer dashboard. With the reviewer dashboard, this gives you a couple things. This tells you the scholarship name of the scholarship you'll be reviewing. It gives a deadline, which will be March 22nd. It gives you a complete percentage, and then it gives you the total amount of applications. On your application that you've been assigned, the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the reviewer training tutorial. You can select that to get more information, and underneath that is the philosophy of scoring. Underneath that is the scoring rubric for the scholarship, and you can see the different sections that this particular scholarship is being scored on and the total maximum points. If this particular scholarship had an attachment, there would be an attachment score on that as well. Each section is scored at a time. So the self-description, you will score all of the self-description for all the scholarships that you have in that panel. You'll go on to activities and score that, and then on to the financial. As Devette mentioned, the applications are blind. So at the top of each section, you'll see the application ID and a little bit of information that includes their academic and some biographical information, and then the box where you will put your score. And this is what the first section looks like. Again, you have the application ID, you have this part of the self-description. You do have the opportunity to select to view the full application at any time. You would select that full application there where the blue arrow is pointing. And that brings you up to a pop-up box so that you can see the scholarship as a whole. But again, you're only scoring each section of all the applications at once. Once you have scored all of the applications, you will get, you'll get back to the reviewer dashboard. The unscored scholarships, where the name of your scholarship will come down to that to the scored scholarships, and you need to select finalize selected scholarships. Once you have finalized those and you get the balloons, then you know that you are done.
So we often get some of the same questions around scoring scholarships. So I'm going to attempt to answer some of those frequently asked questions. The first being, how do I score? We can't tell you how to score the scholarship applications. If we did, then we would be scoring them ourselves, and there is value in bringing different people together and what they prioritize to establish those scores. So the most important things that we can tell you: be consistent in your scoring more than how to score. From student to student, the things that you prioritize, just be consistent in those. And along with that, what matters? What matters to one reviewer may be different than what matters to another reviewer. Oftentimes this centers around grammar and punctuation and how important that should be. That may be very important to you, and it is absolutely fine to score around that. If that is not as important to you, or if you don't think, given the nature of the scholarship panel that you're scoring for, it is as important, then let that be reflected in your scoring. The most important thing we can ask of you as a reviewer is to differentiate your scoring. If you give all 9s and 10s, then you are not helping create a spread amongst those scholarship scores to help select a recipient. It doesn't mean that a student is a poor student if you give them a 4 or a 5. It just means that there may be stronger applicants, or that they did not do a great job showcasing their skills, their experiences, and abilities through the scholarship application process. Basically, if you give all 9s and 10s, you're giving up your voice in the review process to those reviewers who do differentiate. Doesn't matter if you score easy or hard. Again, it doesn't matter if you are a hard scorer or an easier score, as long as you are consistent across the different applications that you're reviewing. So it doesn't hurt your top student if your top score in a panel is a 6, as long as you have that differentiated scoring and that spread across your student applicants. One area that we get a lot of questions about is financial aid and financial need, and you will see a financial section on our scholarships. Some scholarships are more focused in the financial area than others. When we look at financial aid, that is generally considered the grants, loans, or other scholarships that may be available to a student to pay for their college education. When we look at financial need on these scholarships, we are looking at what that gap looks like for that family to pay these educational costs. And sometimes that doesn't necessarily look like the lowest income families having the highest financial need, because they may have access to some resources because of their financial situation. So look at that philosophy of scoring that Jen referenced earlier, and you will see some additional information along that lines. If you have questions about financial need, feel free to call us. We'll be glad to explain in further detail. And we know that that is a tough area for reviewers to score. Your login and password, your login is your email address, and your default password was sent to you in your initial registration email. You can update that password at any time. If you get locked out, if you forget your password, you can click reset your password. If you enter the wrong password too many times and it locks you out, just give us a call or shoot us an email and we can get you reactivated. Another common question we receive is how long will it take to review the scholarship applications? And that just varies from reviewer to reviewer. I say just like it takes students a different amount of time to complete the application, it takes reviewers different amounts of time to complete the review process. With that, some panels are much larger than others and will expect to take a longer period of time, and some scholarships require an essay, which will take additional time in the scoring process. As we noted earlier, the deadline to complete your reviews is March the 22nd, but the good news is you don't have to wait until then to submit your scores. Until you submit your scores and see the balloons, your scores are not final. So you can go back in and review them. You can enter all your scores and think, I want to sleep on it, I want to do half of them, and then go back and look at those before I score the rest, and that is absolutely fine. That's why there is the process in there to submit scores before they are finalized. But once you're finished and you know you feel comfortable with the scoring that you've given, you can go ahead and submit those, and then we can go ahead and start moving applications into our next steps of the process, because as you can imagine, with 1,562, it will take us a while after you all complete your work. The number of applications that you have will vary depending on the panel you're assigned to, and if you do not already, we'll get an email in the next day or so that will show how many applications you have. If you receive that and have an issue, or throughout the review process you encounter an issue with completing your applications, we know you're volunteers and we appreciate that. And we also know that life happens. We appreciate you taking this responsibility seriously, because we do have several next steps that hinge on our reviews being completed timely. But if something comes up in your life, let us know. And the sooner you can do so, the better, so that we can make other arrangements to get your panel completed. Before we wrap up, I just want to once again say thank you so much for the time that you're giving to us to volunteer to review our scholarships. It is so important, not just to the foundation, but to our students and our community, to help make this process efficient but also meaningful. So if you need any support from us as staff, feel free to email us at scholarships@ckcf4people.org or give us a call at 270-737-8393. Thank you.